In this video, we're going to take a look at booleans. A boolean is an operation that allows you to create new geometry based on the shape of existing geometry. We can add, subtract, or intersect geometry together to create something new. Let's take a look here. We have a simple object, and we're just going to call this a cheese grater. And I have a separate object that I want to take and use to cut a hole in each of the faces that we can see here. We can do this pretty easily with our booleans. To perform our boolean operation, I'm going to first grab our menu, and we'll go to Mesh, Booleans, and let's just break this out. And then we want to make sure that we select the objects in the right order. So I'm going to select both of those objects, and since I want to subtract, I'm going to choose Difference. And so now that post or pole or cylinder is now subtracted from our geometry. And you can see that that hole goes all the way through. I'm going to undo that. Let's just talk about this for a second here. So our first operation is a union. This will add our geometry together. This one, it doesn't matter the order that we select. If I choose union, it simply divides that cylinder and makes it part of our cheese grater object. Then at the bottom, we have intersection. Now an intersection will give you the resulting difference of the two pieces you have selected. So if I choose intersection, we'll just end up with this small little bit here that was inside of our cheese grater object. Now I'm going to do our difference again, but let's change our selection order. We'll choose difference, and we can see that is what we want. But now I'll select the cylinder first, then the cheese grater object, and choose difference. And we get the opposite effect, where the cheese grater is subtracted from the cylinder. Now ultimately what we want here is to add a hole in each one of these faces. Before I do that, I'm going to select the cheese grater and open its attribute editor. Under the shape node, I'm going to check Display Center. This will display the centers of each face. Now those centers can be snapped to. So I can take my cylinder here, and I'm going to choose Control D to duplicate it, and then I'll snap to point, and in this case we'll be snapping to that face center. I'll just hold V, grab the X axis, and snap it. And we can see we can snap either to vertex here or the face center. I'm just going to drop it right there. Now, I don't want to have to keep duplicating and then snapping. What we can do is use a different tool here to help this go a little faster. I'm going to go to Edit and choose Duplicate with Transform. And so what this will do is duplicate the object and also apply any transform that it currently has. So in effect, it will double that transform here and just continually add it. So we'll choose that, and I get a new cylinder placed at double the distance. Now I can just hit G to repeat that command and populate the rest of that section. And now let's grab all of these. I'm going to hit Control D just to do a normal duplication, and we'll just snap these in the Z axis, and then we'll go back and choose Duplicate with Transform and hit G to repeat that to fill in the rest of it. Now we're ready to get the difference of all of these posts out of our cheese grater object. I'm going to select all of them, and by doing so, that does select one of those posts last, and I'll choose Difference and subtract all of those from the cheese grate. Now what we can also do is modify the history of the boolean. So here I have the original post, but let's open up our hypergraph and take a look. All of those cylinders are still out there. We can see we have quite a long list of them. Let's just kind of go to the end here. They're still out there based upon the object's history. So if I select this particular cylinder, it is the last one down here, I still have a transformation node. What this allows me to do is relocate this particular boolean. But basically, all I'm doing is moving the cylinder, which enables me to move the Boolean. And we can do this with any one of those or all of them. Now that can get a little computationally expensive, so we do want to be a little bit careful there. But our cylinders are in the right spot, so I really don't need to move them. So I can just leave them there. But it is pretty interesting that we can add a Boolean and then adjust it after the fact.